So this is gonna be kind of like a unique vlog that I'm doing because the movie that I went to see is a Fathom Event kind of movie, and it was there on the movie theater for just 2 days. I don't know when I'm gonna release this video. I actually I'm pretty late on doing some other videos. I do have some other stuff to do. Yeah, welcome to my new computer. It's there. But anyway, I just went to see Men and Witch, the Dance of the Thousand Steps, which this movie I decided to go for it mostly because I felt like I was kind of giving back a kindness to Tommy Stromak, who, if you don't know her, she was the actress who played the Child-like Empress from the Neverending Story. And I did met her when I was in Contropolis, New Jersey, and she was a really nice woman. She was so nice that honestly, I felt like that watching and supporting her movie was kind of like my only way to thank her for those few moments of kindness. But either way, I was still curious to watch the movie. And the first time I saw the trailer, I did kind of have this Princess Bride vibe when I watch it. All the fantasy kind of movie that it has that it feels kind of like a parody in itself. And you know what? I'm glad that I wasn't the only one that thought about it, because I showed it to some people and everyone was saying that, wow, it has some Princess Bride kind of vibe. It kind of does, I'll say. So anyway, the days were coming, and honestly, I decided to finally watch the movie because I was having kind of like a couple of rough weeks, mostly on my technological part, to the point that, as you can see, I got my new computer. So I went there, a little bit in a hurry. I went there, just gonna have kind of like a leisure day. I just even went out with just like you see me like this. But I went to the screening on New York. That was the only one that they were showing it. But what I never expected is that two things unexpected happened. For one, I bought the last ticket of the screening. It was the last seat. I honestly, I never expected that there was gonna be a giant audience, and I thought that, this week a lot of people were gonna be busy with Deadpool and Wolverine, considering that Deadpool and Wolverine is getting a big hit in its box office. Although when I went to see the movie Deadpool and Wolverine, there was an audience. There was a big audience, but there were still some empty seats. But not this one. The one that I went to see, full house, and I just bought the final ticket, the final seat. But that's not the only thing that happened. What I didn't know is that in that specific movie theater, the director and Tommy Stromak herself were there to have a Q&A session. And I think that some of the people in the audience, I think there were relatives of them. So that was a great surprise. I'm serious. I never expected to meet them, and I just, the funny thing is that a relative did warn me that you must group yourself every day. Although there are days in which you just want to have kind of like a leisure day and just go out on your way and just watch a movie and all this stuff. Oh my god, that was kind of like funny. And the funny thing is that the last ticket that I bought, it wasn't exactly the best seat. It was the second row, very close to the screen. But still, I was very close enough to both the director and Tommy Stromak. That was like, this can't be happening. This cannot be happening. It was because it felt like a dream. And let me tell you, in a good way. I'm saying that in a good way. But then, of course, the movie ended, and we had the Q&A session, and I did got close to Tommy again, and she did recognize me from Contropolis, and I just congratulate her, talk for a few seconds, and goodbye, and that's it. I didn't want it to take too much of the time. I already had my time with her, but either way, she's still as nice as a good person as I met her. The director was also doing fine. That was kind of like when I got out. There was also they were also kind of like filming audience reactions to say what they think. And even I thought I looked like this, I was like, you know what? Fine. I go with my. I say my thoughts. I give it kind of like a positive review out of it, and now here I am, and it's time for me to be on my own channel. I'm gonna give you the more blunt and the more honest review that I gonna say for Man and Witch, the Dance of the Thousand Steps, and I'm gonna say that it was a good movie. Yeah, gotta say, I had a lot of fun with this movie. It was fun. There might be flaws here and there, although I do am aware that sometimes I get a little bit too picky when it's about movie watching, but I will say that this was a very harmless, uncynical, fun film. They did want to find a way to bring back, the nostalgia of family film that we felt on an 80s fantasy film. Although the vibe and all this stuff, it feels more kind of like one of those comedy parody fantasy films that, yeah, it has the vibe of, the Princess Bride, and it got that. Although the good thing is that the whole thing feels so genuine that even though there's kind of like moments, there's kind of like no moment in which it kind of makes you cringe or go like something like that. You just get this enjoyment out of it, and mostly because if you notice, this is an independent film, like I said. It's an independent film that it was done with a passion. Some group of people, they decided to join, get the few things that they just wanted to that they can afford, like getting the costumes, the settings, because some of the settings they film in Scotland. They also got some Jim Henson puppetry for some talking animal bit, but probably, I think the most expensive thing that they got into the movie is probably hiring Christopher Lloyd for making a movie, for being there for kind of like a few seconds here and there. But honestly, the Christopher Lloyd scenes are actually marginally better than Oogie Loves, let's say. But either way, it was fun. And honestly, I think the audience bought it. A lot of the people in the audience, they were laughing on the jokes, even though there were some kind of like simple jokes. It's not kind of like this professional jokes, I'll say. Let's say like a joke that a stand-up comedian could do, or like Ryan Reynolds will do. But you know what? They did their job. They did fine. You know what? I think I talk too much, and sometimes when I talk too much, I got the bad tendency to go, into the up and downs of trying to be positive or negative. It's that again. As much as I like or dislike a movie, I never kind of wanted to go into the extreme that I would just want to overhype it. It's just kind of like a big weakness to me. But either way, I think I gotta talk to you about the movie. So, how's the story? How's the acting? How's some of the effects that I just want to make some observations? But here goes. So, yes, this is a movie. This is a fantasy movie. In which it takes place in this kingdom, and the movie centers around this. It centers around this guy. It's kind of like he's played by the director himself. I think so. I don't remember. Yeah, I think he is. He is kind of like this big bloaty of Goatherder. And by the way, he doesn't. Most of the characters, they don't have name. He's just known as the Goatherder. Basically this guy, he just wants to find love. He wants to get married, but apparently he can't get a woman because he's cursed. His mother tells him that he is cursed. Apparently he's cursed. His curse is that he's not gonna get dethroned, which it sounds ridiculous. Let me tell you, but either way, that's what happened to him. He's apparently cursed to not get married, and he just wants to get married. He just wants to fall in love. So he had enough, and and after getting his revelation that he is cursed to not have a love of his life, he gets a hint saying that he might be able to break that curse if he visits a witch. That witch is the one played by Tommy Stromak. He goes there, and the witch basically begrudgingly tells him that he has to complete 3 impossible tasks in order to break the curse. And well, the movie technically follows this linearity in which he has to go through all these 3 tasks, and if he does it, he can finally break the curse and get married. But of course, there's a little bit more than that story, and then it kind of involves love. In which it involves, of course, a love story in between a love story, a lore between he is not the only one with a curse, and also what was the other thing that I was about to say? Oh yeah, and also the whole land is having a problem with ogres, that they have regenerative powers and they're killing people. So that's the gist of the movie in itself. It's simple. I've seen this kind of story, I gotta say, during my 40 years that I have seen watching movies. But don't let that thing kind of like ruin you the mood, because it's still, the execution is what matters, and this is enjoyable as it is for an independent movie. You feel some good effort that they go through, and the whole story, as you can see, it feels genuine. There is a genuine pacing of the hero's journey about he wanting to do this. He just feels lonely. He just wants to get married, and then as the movie goes on, they put some pieces together about the whole world that they revolve into it. Although if there's a little bit of a nitpick that I go with the movie, and even the audience kind of asks politely about it, is that the whole surrounding of the world building is mostly kind of like a MacGuffin. It's a MacGuffin that is never almost resolved, and it feels like this movie is kind of like begging for a sequel, which honestly, this is something that many movies they kind of fall in which they feel like that they want to make kind of like this big world building, and they think that we're gonna make this the first movie and we're gonna expect that we're gonna get sequels. And well, the movie feels sure that it's gonna get it. And honestly, I wouldn't mind if it gets a sequel because the audience kind of are asking, "Where's the sequel?" So at least I'll give it to the benefit of the doubt that some of the mysteries that the movie left behind is still interesting enough to build a world in a universe in itself. The biggest thing that I gotta say about this movie, without spoiling too much, but they will say, is that I did mention that our protagonist is cursed. The thing is that the curse is all because an evil wizard puts him this curse. And there is more about this curse and the whole town that it meets the eye, and this kind of makes it kind of like interesting, but at the same time the movie kind of doesn't resolve that, in which it left out as a mystery probably for expanded stories about this. I wish I could tell you more about that, but if I tell you, this is gonna be going to spoiler territory, and I don't want to do that. So, but I will leave it at that, for the whole story segment about this. But let me talk about the characters, in which we got our protagonist, the Goatherder. He has kind of like the trait of he's likable enough, but he sees the kind of like the trait that he just wants to find love, and he's not exactly kind of like the most attractive guy in the world. He is tall, but he's a little bit bloated. He for the most of the time he started out like that. He is a little bit clumsy. He's just kind of like desperate. But when he gets into this journey of completing the task of the witch, then you find out that he has the great positive trait that he is determined. He is determined. He finds out, his flaws, and he just wants. He sees the task as obstacles to reach what he wants. He wants to get married, and he wants to lift that curse. And then he just fulfills it. He just fulfills it in the terms of that. It also makes him stronger. And I don't know if it's my imagination, but the first task, actually, it make him get on shape better, I'll say. Oh, and by the way, I don't want to reveal all of the task, but I will say that even you saw in the trailer that the title task, which is the Dance of the Thousand Steps, is the last task. And then I also have to talk about Tommy Strommage. She plays the witch, and I gotta say, despite that she wasn't how can I say, on a big screen or acting in anything for a long time, she does a very good job. She did play well as the witch. I mean, all the actors were doing great, I'll say. I did mention that the guy was actually pretty good for what it is. But Tommy Strommage, I think that she was the best actress in the movie. She acts selfish, a little bit, how can I say, condescending. The traits that you have as a witch. But then you find out that there is something about this witch. Again, I'm not gonna go too much into it, but let's say that it built up a big relationship between her and our protagonist, the Goatherder, well, the way I said it, maybe it reveals too much, in which you know that these where that story come from. But again, her execution does really well. And well, I will say that her character is kind of a tragic, I would say. And once you learn a little bit more, you feel for her. You feel for this. You feel for this character. And well, this is one of those movies that that it had to build up to get into this. And of course, continuing on, there are also other characters that they're kind of like the supporting characters. There is the Goatherder's mother, who she's probably my least favorite character, but more in the sense that I find that character really mean-spirited. But that's just me. That doesn't technically ruin the movie. I'm just saying that that for a mother, she was kind of like really mean, but then you kind of notice that this is kind of like a character that grew bitter for something. But also I find very curious that she had that the mother, most of the time she appears very close to the neighbor. The neighbor is also a little bit of a jackass, because he apparently is one of those freeloader guys in which he helps around the house, but at the same time he looks for something to profit from it. That's my take, at least. But in a way, he's kind of like the charismatic asshole that it gave me kind of like a sneer when I see him. I will also say that the only friends that the Goatherder has are the animals. The animals are all of them puppetry. Of course, they use the real animals here and there, but in involving scenes, they just add some comments and they just talk about it. I gotta say that probably now that I think about it, they are probably my favorite characters. There is the sheepdog, who the dog kind of reminded me of the dog from the Storyteller. There is the donkey who doesn't get out of the house. There is the goose. But probably my favorite character is the black sheep. That sheep. I think I counted like 7 times, and that sheep, in some of the inopportune moments, he just starts quoting movie references. Yeah, like for example, he's when they go through. The first one that I noticed is that when they go through the forest and they see all these people killed by the ogres, and then the black sheep number 1 response is like, "I see dead people." and he does that 6 more times. And honestly, I know that this might sound abusive, but trust me, at least they don't go overhaul out of it. And that sheep saying all those inopportune movie quotes that kind of gave me a laugh. I admit that. Well, okay, there's other characters, like for example, there is the king of the town, who he's the way he talks and his mannerism, he sounds like a Monty Python kind of character. There is the princess, who is supposed to be the one who should marry the one who destroyed the ogres, and let's say that this character was. Let's say that she's kind of like a little bit of a MacGuffin here and there. Although there are some other, a few characters here and there, like the woman who is kind of almost getting forced to get married to the Goatherder, but she doesn't want to. There is the knight that the Goatherder saves when he was injured. And of course, the ogres. The ogres, let's say that I will forgive them, that they don't have, too much makeup. But some of them, apparently, they kind of do look like, normal people. But maybe but it's just nitpick here and there. But either way, they did a nice job into it. Also, there is one particular ogre that it has kind of like a toupee, a golden toupee, in which, for some reason, it makes him look like John Madden for some reason. I don't know. I don't know why John Madden came into my head when I saw that ogre. It's almost like an ogre version of John Madden. No offense to John Madden, just in case. Rest in peace. That's all I have to say about the acting. They did a good job on the acting. None of the acting I feel like overacting or... Okay, maybe at the end there was a little bit of overacting, but it complies to what the script wanted to. Oh yeah, I forgot almost. I forgot that, of course, they show the parents of the witch. And also, I think these characters, I think these characters could have been cut, because I don't think they impact too much into the overall plot. But maybe they kind of needed some to show that the witch it actually has someone to support them. And of course, the father is played by Christopher Lloyd. And Christopher Lloyd is kind of like it's kind of like a little bit of this wacky man who misunderstand words. Like, for example, instead of hearing Goatherder, he misinterpreted as gophers. But either way, it has the Christopher Lloyd charm that you know and love if you like it. Then come now that I talk about the acting, I think it's time for me to go about the cinematography. There are a few moments in which they have a little bit of shaky camera, but thankfully it's not abusive. Most of the time the camera is well shot. You notice some of the production that they go through, and for a low budget movie, it does really well. So honestly, don't expect kind of like Hollywood thing, but as long as they do kind of like their good job, you can forgive them. You can although while I do admire the puppetry that they and some of the practical effects that this movie has, when they decide to go with the CGI for some of the smoke and lightning, this is where the CGI gets a little bit noticeable. But keep in mind, this is independent. Don't be too hard on that. I'm just kind of pointing out this one, and thankfully it's not exactly kind of like over your head that you're gonna notice saying that, oh, this is too fake or something like that. They use it sparingly enough so you go see it. You might think about it, but it's not gonna impact too much into the film. So so honestly, they did a good job, and I will highly commend that they went all out on the practical effects, because practical effects in state of more AAA production of movies, it feels kind of like dead, and at the same time then it loses its charm. The same thing I'm gonna say with people who are going artificial intelligence, and this loses me. Practical effects are still good. And the most that I say is with the animals. The animals were actually the best. I think it's the best part of the production value. And of course, the sheep that spout out movie one-liners. Oh my god, that sheep is not gonna escape me. And also the wardrobe also is pretty simple, but you know what? The more simple, the better. Just like the story, it was pretty simple. Oh yeah, you know what? I forgot there is also one character that I forgot to mention, and there is a cupid played by a child. The kid doesn't talk, although he's just there, to be the symbol of, love is there, and he just shoots his arrow in doing his job and all this stuff. Almost like Elmer Fudd as Cupid, but more cuter and likable, as kids goes, of course. And what else I can say about this movie to give it a little bit of the positive? Well, I think I'll give it kind of like the thematics. As simple as the movie is, I like the theme about, about finding determination to find love despite all the odds. In which follow, the love, who you love and all this stuff. It's a basic, love. It's kind of like a basic love story that you hear here and there. You don't, it doesn't need too much. For usually 80 fantasy films, they most of the time is about getting the girl that you dream or you build up, and although the final moments of the movie kind of also pointed out a little bit the cliches, I'll say. I did criticize a little bit that the movie kind of have a few modern references that these moments, I think it was more kind of like a double-edged sword now that I think about it. Some people will get turned off, but I think the audience kind of bought it, even the modern references in a 70s film. And maybe without the modern references, it could make the movie a little bit less hip, I'll say. But that's just honestly a small nitpick, just a small nitpick here and there. So overall, I'm gonna say that I did enjoy Man and Witch for what it is. Man and Witch: The Dance of the Thousand Steps. I do. If I have to say, is that if you kind of get the chance to grab this movie, check it out. Although it only lasted 2 nights in Fathom Event, and I just crossing my fingers that they just find a way to distribute this film in some other medium. Sorry about the people who are talking outside. Let's see if it's gonna go streaming or Blu-ray. But I will say that maybe this movie will get kind of like it's gonna get kind of like a following if people will keep supporting it, because honestly it builds up something good. And I did mention, of course, that there is the MacGuffin about the whole curses and the whole wizard that put curses, and there's still some unsolved mysteries that even the movie itself kind of acknowledge it. Will there be a sequel? A lot of people asked it during the Q&A session. We'll see. Depends on how many people support it, but either way, I think that this movie did gain my support.